Okay.
All right. You ready for me? Take it away.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes. Yes.
Well, it was so fun to hear all of your guys' intros. I love, love, love that you are such a supportive group. And this is so important. This is a huge way to go 10x, which is what we're talking about today, but to have connection, have collaboration, and support each other. So amazing. That was really fun. Okay, let me go ahead and jump in. I do have a presentation, it's not a lot of words, it's more images, but just helps you follow along. I used to teach junior high, so I'm pretty good at this stuff, trying to keep your attention digitally. So you've already introduced yourself, but I do want you to use the chat if you have access to it, if you're able to. And I would love for you to put in the chat an emoji that represents how you feel about your goal or your goals for 2024. So just throw in a quick, like, what represents? Are you like, yay, yes? Or are you like, the question, the thinking one, right? Pull this up. Yeah, Kathy's like, the googly. I was like, ah. Some of you guys are like, yes, let's go. I love it. The stars. So good. So keep throwing those in there as you're thinking about your goals. We all have different feelings and thoughts about it. So I want to make this really relevant to you. I do ask for participation if at all possible. If we have time, I'll open it up to possibly some coaching. All right, so before I get started, let's just take a minute and let's just take a breath. We forget to breathe so often. And I just want you to appreciate yourself, give yourself a little like love, put your hand on your heart, a little encouragement, a little gratitude for showing up here today to connect with your fellow women entrepreneurs and also to take in a little more personal development, a little bit more learning. So I do this selfishly because it calms me down, but hopefully it's nice to take a breath. We forget. All right. So my name is Sari Kimbell. I help entrepreneurs go 10x to create more freedom and fun, create a business that you actually like. Imagine that. I'll tell you at the end if you want to get a hold of me, how you can do that. Okay. So you guys have put some stuff in the chat, your emojis about how you're feeling, about your goals. And this is, usually what happens is that we start setting goals for the year, right? I'm assuming most of you have set some kind of goal that you're like, this is what I'm doing, right? It could be launch my business. It could be double my sales to 100K. It could be get more clients, pay myself something, especially people with product businesses, which I work a lot with. That's always a big goal. Maybe it's open 20 new accounts. And maybe it's just like lose some weight or have better relationships. And so this is typically a version of goals that I see that people make. And nothing wrong per se, but I want to offer an alternative for you today on how to set goals that you're actually going to achieve. So this is what we call the New Year's resolution model. And it's appropriate because New Year's was not that long ago. And we probably, we all do it. We're like, this is the year. This is the year that I'm going to do XYZ, right? It's like, this time will be different. There's an arbitrary timeline and a result. You just kind of pick something out of the air. You're like, I'm going to double my sales in 12 months, right? Or I'm going to get 10 clients, whatever it is. And so we just pick this like super arbitrary thing. Like, how do we know we can even do that in a year, right? Is that even reasonable? But usually it's a year because that's how we're kind of raised, right? To think on a calendar year. And maybe we declare it out loud, but you say, you declare it to yourself or out loud, and then you kind of get to work and you're like, let's go, we're going to push this forward. And there's often a feeling of excitement and motivation, which is all great. But now we are in January 16th, and we have about 10 days before the gym parking lots get empty again, before we can find all the equipment when we do go to the gym and we're like, yay, all the people have given up on their New Year's resolution. So it's about January 26th, right in there, that people, about 3 weeks in, that people give up. And so that's why I want to do it differently. I want to offer you a different model. Because what happens when we set these New Year's resolution goals is that it's very all or nothing. I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week. And we start out really strong, right? Or I'm going to make 10 calls per day for sales, to go after new sales. So it's all or nothing. We set these big arbitrary things that we're going to do. It's 100% or zero, because then once we miss one day, because life happened, the kids got sick, we have a snow apocalypse going on, right? We miss it and we're like, oh, well, the first day I missed it. Well, now it gets easier the second day. And well, I didn't do that. So I might as well not even do the rest of my stuff, right? All the habits I said I was going to change. Maybe I don't need to eat as well because I didn't go to the gym anyway. So it's this 100% or zero, black or white thinking. Very quickly, that's why we see the gym become empty again, is because people missed a few days and then they're just like, all right, maybe I'll wait till next year. So this is the problem with New Year's resolution type goals. And then we kind of end up hating our goals, which sucks. Like, nobody wants to hate your goal. Like, a goal should be something that you love, that you're excited about, but we kind of end up resenting it. We sabotage ourselves. So oftentimes we minimize the goal. We're like, no, wait, actually that was the wrong goal. Let me change it. And we try to make it wrong. Like, we somehow picked the wrong goal and we'll start later or we'll shrink it down. And so, I don't know, this happens to me. Put a 1 in the chat if this has been you at some point. Might not be this year. Maybe you're still with it, but has this been you at some point in your life where you have given up the black or white thinking, gone out strong, and then given up? Yeah, lots of 1s coming in. Amazing. Okay. And if we actually do get there, if we get the clients or we lose the weight or we create the sales or we get the partner or whatever the goal was, we run the marathon, we often get there through willpower. And what happens is that we end up moving the finish line, right? Like, we get to the finish line and we're like, I thought that was going to make me happy. I thought that was going to solve all my problems and that I would finally feel like this amazing human when I see it a lot in sales revenue for my clients. Because what we end up doing is we just keep moving the finish line. We're like, oh, wait, that wasn't it. Actually, it wasn't 100K, it was 200K. That's the new goal, right? And we just never really feel like we actually get there. We just keep moving the finish line out. And all of my high achievers, which I am a recovering, partially recovered high achiever, we're trying to accumulate all those gold stars, right? And I think that the older we get, as we get more wise and experienced as women, we start to feel that like, I got all the things. I did all the things that everybody told me I should do. And yet I'm still not totally happy. I'm not fulfilled. I'm not satisfied. But we think like, let me just get all the gold stars. Let me check off all the shoulds, all the things that people tell me my goals should be. But we're just not happy, right? And I'm sure many of you can relate to that, because entrepreneurs tend to be high achievers. So this is the hardest thing you've ever done. So you're going after the gold stars. And so as we talk about 10X and what that means to me anyway, is that I want you to go bigger with your current thinking. I want you to open up to possibility. This is about kind of magical thinking in a way, at least starting there. Make it a little bit impossible. Make your goal something a little wild, a little juicy, a little like, what? If I actually did that, that would be amazing. Right. And this is one of the first things that I do with my clients, and several of you are coaches on here, and I'm sure you do the same thing, is that we kind of play pretty small in our lives And I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but just helping people, helping you open up to like, well, what's possible. I call myself a reinvention coach. And I feel like I'm constantly dropping possibilities, like possibility drop. What if you could do that? Possibility. Dropping these ideas. It gets you thinking like, what if that's possible? What if it is a little bit wild? What if people are like, what is she doing over there? Right. But that's the power, that's the magic of 10x thinking. And so what we're talking about here is like reverse engineering your life and your business, like all of it, saying, here's where I'm at now. And then we go out, we go into the future, and not just a year, because that's super arbitrary. And we always underestimate what we can do in a year, or overestimate, I should say, because we plan a lot. But I want you to go out into the future and say, what's my 10-year vision for my life in all the ways? Maybe as a mom, if you have kids, if you're married, as a spouse or partner, in your business, and how you show up in your relationships, how you are in your health. Like, what is your overall big vision for yourself? And make it kind of crazy. Go a little wild. And then we reverse engineer it. We say, okay, well, what does that look like 3 to 5 years from now? And what does that look like 1 to 2 years from now? And we need to be able to actually right here in this moment, figure out what that first next step is to actually get us there. Now, if you want to be an NBA player, that's your 10x vision, but you're 5'5" and you're probably not going to get there. So we don't want capital I impossible. We want like, it is possible, but maybe big for you. And the goal is ultimately going to shape the process, right? And this is the beauty of it. It's different for everyone, because hopefully your vision is different from your neighbor, right? Because it's your life. And so you are going to become somebody new in this process. This should be a reinvention for you to create a 10x vision for your life. You can't get there from here, but we can start to become a different version of ourselves, to create a new identity based on who we want to be, where we want to be in our life and in our business. And it's going to be a little bit messy. I don't know if any of you guys have done the chrysalis thing with your kids or other kids. I do not have kids, but I am an aunt, and I would do these chrysalises with my nephews, and the caterpillar is going along, right? It's life. And then, one day it goes into the cocoon, and then you're waiting. And then it's a freaking bloodbath. It's like, I came upstairs and I was like, what on earth, right, has happened? And it's messy to go through a reinvention. It is a little messy to become someone new, but going after and actually achieving a 10x goal, that is what's required. And so are you willing to get a little out of your comfort zone, to let it be a little bit messy? Get out of your safety area. So I do want to acknowledge, I love this book, just came out this year. I was part of a mastermind with Dr. Benjamin Hardy, but 10x is easier than 2x. That's definitely a piece of inspiration here. And also the 10x rule by Grant Cardone. So this is a blend of my work and their work. And so some goals are better than others. So when you think about this, is an opportunity of like, it's okay to revise your goals at this point. And maybe, hopefully, I will inspire you to sit down and be like, is that the right goal for me this year? So some goals are better than others. And there are 2 types of goals. The first type of goal is an extrinsic goal, or what I call a push goal. It includes a lot of external validation. You need a lot of people saying, good job, right? Keep going, or that's amazing, you're awesome. You are focusing on how you will feel in the future when you finally get that gold star, right? Money, fame, accolades are often tied up into these kind of goals. That feeling of moving the finish line, it's never quite enough. Like, great, I got here, but I'm still feeling a little unsatisfied. So it must be the next thing. a lot of reliance on luck and other people. Like it's all going to line up and it's all like outside of my control, which allows us conveniently to blame others. Because when we don't meet the goal, then we can blame other people because we didn't have any control over it anyways. So convenient. And oftentimes we relies on competition and scarcity. And I love that there's like some of you guys that are working together and collaborating and that, you know, that there's that ability to do that. It's amazing. So push goals look like this, extrinsic goals, right? It's like, here's the goal and I'm pushing it up the mountain. And it's hard. It's based on willpower. And you're only kind of creating what you've already done in the past. It's not that much different. It's like a little bit different. And it's oftentimes, I know when it's an extrinsic goal, when I hear this word, I should be making X number of dollars in my business. I should have this kind of relationship with my mother. I should have this many clients, right? The shoulds. And we have to ask ourselves, is that really your goal or is that somebody else's goal? Is that a goal you have inherited? And extrinsic goals are very challenging. This is a New Year's resolution model because it relies on willpower. And you are literally working against the biology of your brain, which says to seek pleasure, to avoid pain, and not exert energy. And does this doesn't look pleasurable. This looks painful. And it looks like you're going to exert a lot of energy. So this is why New Year's resolution goals don't work. The other type of goal is it's called an intrinsic goal, or I call it a pull goal. There's an internal desire, a want, right? Like this hunger, this, oh, that'd be so awesome. It's sorry to be a little, use this cliche, but it's about enjoying the journey. You're only at the mountaintop for like, I don't know about you, but I get to the top of the mountain and I'm like, cool. All right. Take a couple photos. I guess we turn back around. Like it's windy. It's kind of cold up there. Like most of the time you're going to be in the journey. So why don't we pick something we're actually going to like to do? It's something that is in your control. There's a lot of things that are outside of our control, but it's got to be things that like I can affect. We're going to measure the short-term progress because this is what keeps us winning. We do not have a good track record of long-term, delay of gratification. If it's going to take you, if you're not going to celebrate the money along the way, you're only going to celebrate when you actually create 300K in your business. Like you're going to give up pretty fast because who wants to be, doing that when you get no celebration along the way, when you don't measure short-term progress. It's pretty terrible. We're kind of terrible to ourselves. There's a lot of personal growth, personal development, and it's based on abundance and cooperation. I love that. And I like to think of it as like a magnet. Like it's pulling you in. Like, yeah, it's a little wild. It's a little crazy. People think I'm a little nuts, but I don't care. This feels like aligned for me. There's a want to, not a have to, not a should, not a need to. It's I want to do this just because I want it. And oh my gosh, what if it's fun? What? How many of us never associate the word fun and goal together? But what if it is? What if it's just super fun? Because have you ever noticed that the more fun you're having, the more you actually want to keep doing something? That's pretty cool. Right? Why don't we actually build a goal, a vision for ourselves that I jump out of bed every morning and I'm like, yes, I want to get to work on this because it's fun, because I see progress, because I'm making an impact. That's what I want, a 10X vision for you. And so I'm using goal and vision a little bit interchangeably, but I do think it's more about a vision because the goal is like a one-time thing. And we actually want something we can repeat over and over again. But let's just say that this is your 10X vision. Here's some examples that I'm playing on from the very first couple slides where we talked about kind of normal goals. So what if instead of like more clients, it was serving 1,000 paying clients, creating 300K in sales, create 100K salary for myself, and take 150 days off. And I don't mean entrepreneur days off. I mean real days off, not the, let me check my email for the next 2 hours. I'll be back with you in a few. Maybe it's open 100 new accounts. Now notice what happens is entrepreneur brains, you might be saying this, but I can't do this in a year. I said nothing about a year. I want a vision that's bigger than a year. It's way more compelling. And we totally overestimate what we can do in a year. So what you're probably saying is, I can't do that in a year. And entrepreneurs, we drive ourselves crazy with deadlines. Like, I never said this was a year.
Productions.
I would rather that you pick a bigger goal and go after a 3-year goal than a year. That's super arbitrary. And so you may want to review your goals that you put yourself for this year. Entrepreneurs drive yourselves crazy with goals and with deadlines. But let's I call it smash the clock. Nobody said you have to do it in a year. And so I would rather that you go 10x and you extend the timeline. You add more sand into the whatever these things are called. Right? You extend the timeline. So the way that we can, one of the best ways we can think about, okay, what is she talking about? Sounds crazy. Like, why would I choose something like this? I want you to look at, where have you gone 10x before? And this is where, if you're by a computer, chat, if you can chat, I'd love for you to think about, put something that you're willing to share about where you have gone 10x in the past, because this will start to give evidence to your brain that this is actually possible. You have done this before. And just as a very simple example, at one point in your life, and if you have kids, you watch them, at one point in your life, you just had to be carried everywhere. And then all of a sudden you start crawling, and then you start walking, and then you start running. Then you're like running races and getting better and faster. Every time, I mean, kids do tons of 10x jumps, right? When they go from babbling to talking, and they go from not walking to, or nothing to crawling, and then crawling to walking. Like, we all have done this. And I'm curious if you would share where you maybe have gone 10x in your past. It could be oftentimes around, I mean, frankly, kudos to all of you parents out there. Your mother's like, that's a huge 10x jump, right? You go from not being a parent, not having to take care of anybody else, and then having kids. That's a huge 10x jump. Training with a ladies exercise group, running a marathon, marriage. Yeah, when you maybe go to college, that's you change your identity a little bit. You have to, because you're doing something super big. Maybe even just becoming an entrepreneur, right? I came from corporate. I worked for Whole Foods Market prior to becoming an entrepreneur, and that was a huge 10x jump for me. I've moved, every time. So I'm sure you have lots of, you can see it in your past. It's important to do that. Yeah. Leaving your corporate job to create your business, starting a business from nothing. Oh, I love it. You guys are getting going now. So I want to share with you just very quickly. I'll open up, be a little vulnerable here. This is me in 2012. I was, and I don't even have pictures of my heaviest, but I was very overweight. I was married. Had a totally different job, lived in a different place. And what you can't see in here is that I was deeply, deeply unhappy. I was very unfulfilled. I was very anxious. I was going through depression bouts. And while everything on the outside maybe looked fine to most people, that was not the case on the inside. And then this is me now, right? And I've lost 60 pounds. I opened my own business. I've created a 300K business and growing. I have amazing friends. I have amazing clients. I moved, and I will say I was very heavily over drinking in these photos over here. And I have a completely new relationship with alcohol. And that has been a huge 10x jump that has also helped me in my business tremendously and my life and relationships. So we kind of think that our future self will be pretty similar to what we are now. But if you think about your past, like you're pretty different from your 20s, from your 30s, from your 40s, right? And everywhere in between. So I want you to think about, what does your life look 3 to 5 years? Or what does your life, anyway, I don't think I worded that right, but you get the idea. 3 to 5 years from now, what does it look like? What do you want to be known for? What legacy do you want to leave behind? What kind of model do you want to be for your kids or other people in your life? What do you want your health to look like? And this is what happens when I ask this question of clients a lot of times, is they tell me a really small version, like a really timid version of their life. They say like, I just want to like, maybe have a little bit nicer house, or maybe drive a little bit nicer car, or, just maybe lose a little bit of weight or be a little bit healthier. Like, it's pretty amazing because we've kind of been beaten down. Right? Like, we don't dream very big. We've kind of missed the mark at times. We've quote unquote failed. And then we beat the crap out of ourselves and we start getting really small to keep ourselves safe. And that was totally me in those photos from 10 years ago. Because I was like, well, I don't want to get hurt by the world, so I'll just hurt myself ahead of time. And so I dreamt really, really small. And as a coach, I want to create a safe space for you to like dream. Like I said, possibility drops to like, what if your life could be incredible? You just woke up every day and you're like, this is amazing. I love my life. And I had this conversation with a client and she was telling me, I said, what does your life look like in 5 years? And she would have been 35. And she was telling me this life that was like, I was like, wow, like that is not that exciting. And after we did this work, she was like, I'm kind of embarrassed that that's what I had for you. Right. And like, we came up with such a bigger vision and that got her really excited. We need something that will get us off of the couch, right? Get us past the Netflix and all the things that we buffer in our lives for. I want a dream that like, it's like the lion roaring. When you tell me about your future, it sounds a little crazy to people, but you're like, yep, that's what we're doing here. So as you think about choosing the right goal, whatever that is for you, I want it to be for you and you only, right? It's not about what society, what your parents said, what the guidance counselor in 10th grade told you, right? All the things that we pick up along the way. How do we create a goal that is for you and you alone? It comes through values. And I do a values exercise first thing with my clients. We start with our values because oftentimes we're just doing goals based on what other people are telling us. But if we get clear on our internal compass, what our filter is, then that helps to direct everything. Now we're not doing it based on everybody else. We're doing it based on us and your own internal compass. And my values for me are fun, generosity, and growth. And so that helps me to say, what is my 10X vision, right? What do I want to choose? What do I want to say yes to? And what do I want to say no to in my life? We got to start saying no a lot more. So our future self has to be really compelling. You are here. Here's where you want to go, your 10X vision. And then we say, why do you want to get there? The reality is that we think it'll be really different when we get there, right? Why do you want to actually get there? And I'd love for you to put in the chat, like, why would you want to achieve any goal, whether it's a 10X goal or just any goal, right? Whether that's sales in your business or a relationship or new clients or, whatever that success is, what do you think will be different? And usually, as you think about it, usually what people tell me is some version of, skip that slide, but the why, that's what we're getting at, is then I'll feel successful, finally. even though you've achieved all sorts of things, right? That you'll be stress-free. I love it. Somebody's been stress-free. I'll have money. I'll achieve money. I'll achieve respect. I'll be happy. How many of us have said, I'll finally be happy? Fulfillment, recognition. And this is mine anyway. I'll finally be good enough. Finally, people will see me as good enough, and to myself. And the reality is, we can't get there. We don't get it when we get to the goal. We have to create it all along the way. And it's really important to know that you're not like, even if you got the goal, it doesn't magically create happiness. How many of us have gotten the goal and we're like, wait, not happy. Dang it, it wasn't that, right? So really, we got to dig for the why. You know, what is that why? And somebody put retire with my husband in 2 years and travel the USA in the RV. Amazing. Why? Why do you want to do that? That is the most important thing. Because we got to go dig for it. And what this is super annoying to my clients, but I usually ask them between 5 and 7 times. And so I would encourage you to do that work on yourself. Say, Erin, why do you want to go retire? Why? Maybe at first you're like, just because it sounds like I'll finally not have any demands. Okay, why do you want that? Right? And you just got to keep going, digging for the why. Because ultimately at the bottom, you're going to find something that's deeper than money or success or recognition. It's going to be about legacy and contribution and transformation and impact. And so the why is super important as you're thinking about, how do I create the right 10x goal? And I want to show you a couple of examples that you may want to think about or use some version of. So 2x is pretty easy, relatively speaking, right? Like last year I did 50K. So a 2x goal would say I double it to 100K. And you might be like, that's hard, right? But usually we're using the year as an arbitrary thing. So what if it was 500K? What if we 10x'd it and said, I want to make 500K in my business, but I'm going to do it over 3 years. And I'll tell you why it's important to and you might be like, what? That's impossible. That's okay. Hold that thought. Maybe on social media at 500 followers. So you would say, oh, let me just double it to 1,000. What if your goal was 5,000? What if instead of 10 new accounts or 20 new accounts, because you're doubling it, it was 100 new accounts? And I've done this with clients and who tell me I'm just going to get 10 accounts this year. And I'm like, let's make that bigger and more exciting, because you're going to actually end up trying to put that off until the last minute. Days off. This is a big one. This is one of my 10x goals this year is instead of saying, okay, I took 40 real days, like no work days off. So let me try to double it to go to 80 versus, now I know it's not 10x because it's hard to do that, but what if we're limited by the calendar, but what if it was 150 days off? What? This is possible. This is what I'm going for, is 150 days off, which blows my mind. Because if you think about it, if you just take 50 days off, that's a weekend. But how many of us, I know I don't take very many, really true weekend days off. And then if you take a weight example, what if it's, I'm going to lose 50 pounds and never worry about gaining it back again? That's a big goal. That's a 10x goal. So you just want to play with it. And if the word's impossible, what are you talking about? Impossible is practical. And I love this even if it's just a thought exercise. Maybe you don't set that 10x goal as your actual goal, literally 10x it, but play with it a little. When you notice yourself say, that's impossible, again, extend the timeline, but impossible is practical. And in the book, 10x is easier than 2x, Dr. Alan Barnard, I love his phrase, it's impossible unless. So just playing with it as a thought experiment. So it's impossible. So at Steph, you were talking in the beginning about 100 new members, which is amazing, or 100 members total. And what if you had a goal? I'm just going to use this as an example. What if you're actually our goal is 1,000 members? Now, not necessarily in a year, but it's 1,000 members. And you could even add to it that feels really engaged and compelling. That's like 1,000 members who are involved and supporting each other and are really showing up in their business, right? And you can add those extra pieces of your vision. And then you're like, what? That's impossible. Unless, what would make it possible? We'd have to pull some really big levers. We'd really have to ask our members to go out and get new members. We'd have to say, like, where can we show up differently and bigger in the community to create 1,000 members? So just playing with it, it's impossible unless. Because what happens is impossible is practical because it narrows our path. We don't have as many options. It's like, well, I could get, like, you've already surpassed 100. So if your goal was like, well, we can get 150, you're like, well, it's kind of, I can pretty much get there without doing too much extra effort. But instead, like, constraining and say, well, here's some of the bigger levers we'd have to pull. And this is my 10X vision for my 50th birthday, which I got about a year and a half, is to be in Provence for 3 months, taking 3 months off, and my business still running without me. And I'm in Provence for the entire summer, celebrating the Lavender Festival from June through August. And I have made it really salient. So attach things, and sometimes money doesn't do it for us, right? Money is like, we kind of have all this baggage around money. And so maybe it's not about the money, but it's about, what does the money get you? What can you do with that money that's like, oh my gosh, that would be badass, right? I would just love that. And so this is mine. I can hear the gravel. I can smell the flowers. I can taste the wine. I can see what I'm wearing, like all of it, right? And I sit with this, and this helps to keep me really engaged. And then how do you know if it's the right goal for you? Play with all these things that I've talked about, your values, the vision, and then sit with it. How does it feel in your body, right? A 2X goal is kind of like, wah, wah. It feels hard. It's a push goal. You're like, dang, I don't want to get off the couch for that. But is it a pull goal? Does it resonate with you? Like I said, sometimes money isn't it, but it's, I'm going to take that dream vacation with my family or without my family. and it's going to, the money will help me to do that I created my business. So get it really clear and then feel it in your body. We know, right? If it feels like willpower and grit and pushing, or is it like, this is intrinsic, this feels like the right thing for me. And then I want you to commit, and we don't change it. You do not change your goal, your 10X vision. It's like, I jumped out of an airplane 2 summers ago and there was no going back, right? I could not go back into the airplane once I was out. So that's what I wanted to be. Extend the timeline. Do not change the vision unless there's a really good reason that maybe things do shift in your life, but do it with intentionality. Don't do it because you're trying to get the gold star to achieve the goal. So as you develop your 10X vision, now what? How do you keep that going? And what changes do you make right away? And I love, Tony Robbins says, anytime you sincerely want to make a change, the first thing you must do is raise your standards. And many of you probably heard of the Pareto principle or the 80-20 rule that says basically 80% of our results come from 20% of our effort and vice versa. And so this can be a really great place to start and say, how do I want to raise the standards of the clients that I take in? Most likely 80% of your revenue is coming from 20% of your clients. And the other clients are the ones that are driving you nuts. But we, like, out of scarcity, we're like, no, it's a client, so I take them on. Or the things you're doing, if you're on social media, right? You're going to get 80% of your results from 20% of your effort. Let's focus on the things. Let's raise our standards around the things that we're actually doing and start saying no to the things that the 80% that's weighing us down, that we're getting lost in the weeds on, and it's not actually really serving us. And so in 10X is easier than 2X, I like this model kind of using the 80-20 rule is that 2X, you only have to do a little bit new. For you to double your followers from maybe, 500 to 1,000, all right, you just kind of keep posting and it'll probably happen pretty organically, naturally. Maybe you'll have to do a couple things, but you only have to do about 20% new and you can kind of keep doing what you've been doing. Versus a 10X goal means you're going to have to become a new version of yourself. That's that reinvention, the messiness, the butterfly, right? 80% of what you're doing needs to be new. You're going to be bolder. You're going to take bigger risks. And the 20% that remains, I would argue, is the things that you shouldn't change, like your values inside, things that really matter to you. And then everything else is open, is up for grabs. Now, again, I changed, I got a divorce, I moved. It doesn't mean you have to do any of that. You can keep the relationship. You can keep where you live. You can keep a lot of the things that are important to you, but you're going to have to start saying yes to things, saying no to things, taking bigger risks. So where can you raise your standards? I'm unnaturally obsessed with corgis. So I always try to how can I work in a slide with the corgi, but how do we raise our standards? Plus they're super cute and get you to laugh. So that we start becoming that version of ourselves that's creating that 10X vision. I had to radically raise my standards around alcohol for me to start getting on the path that I am now. And now I'm doing it with TV, right? And it's such a little thing, but how you do one thing is how you do everything. So now I've raised my standards on how much TV I watch and what I actually consume. And so we can start really small. Because there is a cost to your goal, right? Whatever it is, it could be, I got to limit screen time. I got to go to have a better night routine. I may not be able to go out with friends on weeknights and drink, or I might need to stop over drinking, or whatever activity, is your thing. Staying up late, you're going to have to make changes. And so it's stopping certain things and it's also starting things. It's, maybe you need to start meditating, having a writing practice, having a journaling practice. Maybe you need to hire a coach or come to meeting groups like this. You're going to maybe have to put yourself out there in bigger, bolder ways and take risks. And so 10X says no more rugged individualism, no more the lone wolf doing it all themselves. And because you're here, you already know that, but none of that. We have a terrible culture of this in the US of rugged individualism, and no more solopreneuring it, right? We cannot go 10X alone. If you're going to go 10X, you have to go with others. You need to find people, your tribe that can support you. You need mentors, you need advisors, you need people who are going to help you go bigger. So find your who's. Who knows how to do this already? Who could I partner with? These are the bigger levers, right? This is the 80% that's new. Who or what could do this better than I can? AI is a thing. Let's go learn how to use it so that we can create content faster and easier, right? That is an example of a what that could do this potentially better than you can. So finding your who's. And I'm doing this, thinking about this all the time. Instead of how do I do it, who can help me? Right? And using the community power right here in this group is really powerful. And then second to last is living in the game. Most of us live in the gap. And this is another concept from Dan Sullivan, is we make progress every day. But we usually don't look at the progress and celebrate it. We look and say, how far have I come? Or it's not far enough. Or how far do I have to go? And oh my gosh, that's so much further. We get caught in compare and despair, which drags down our energy and our motivation. And so can you live more in the gain every single day? Not in the gap, not in how far you have to come, or, oh, you've not come far enough. Because who said? Right? We're all on our own journey. We all have our own struggles and our own challenges and obstacles. But every single day, we can find a place where we made progress. And this is a form of gratitude, but it's a form of like really recognizing, like, how did we push the ball? How do we just get one kick? We moved it just a little bit further. And sometimes that's, I didn't take a nap when I really wanted to, because I was trying to avoid sending that email. And sometimes it's, I did take the nap because I needed to nourish myself. And so it could be the exact same thing, but we live in the gain and seeing how that moves us forward. It's a mindset shift that is super powerful. And then lastly, and this is so important for women, I think women, we really struggle with this, is self-compassion. We're going to get it wrong. We're going to fail. We're going to mess up. It's not going to go right. We're going to have a pandemic. We're going to have crazy ice storms. Like, things are going to happen, or we just didn't sleep well, or whatever it is. I did not sleep well last night. I woke up at 4:30 this morning, and I have been practicing a lot of self-compassion of like, how can I take care of myself? Even if that's just putting my hand on my heart. I want everybody to do this. Just put your hand on your heart. Close your eyes for just a quick second. Take a breath. And send just a little bit of love to your heart. It says, I'm doing the best I can, the best I know how. I'm taking care of myself. I'm listening to what I need, and I appreciate you. And put in your name. And instead of beating the crap out of ourselves and using fear as a motivator, what if we actually use self-compassion as a way to check in, say, like we would never say the crap that we say to ourselves, to our children, our spouse, our friend. What if we actually became the love of our own life and said, you're doing amazing. Keep going. We have time. You failed. Okay. It hurts. Feel the disappointment. And then what did we learn from it? So it's such a beautiful practice that I am trying to incorporate more in my life, because this is new, new for me. So I want to leave you with, as we wrap up, I want to have time for questions, or if anybody wants coaching on their 10X goal, or just any comments or anything. And I want to give you time to wrap up too, Steph, but what is one tiny action that you can take from here? We often consume all this information, then we feel overwhelmed of, now I got to do all these things. And I gave you a worksheet. You can revisit it anytime. You don't have to do it right away, right? But maybe it's put 30 minutes on your calendar to do the worksheet, to spend a little time. Maybe it's reach out to me or reach out to one of the other coaches in this group and say, I want a coach. I want somebody to really help me stay on this path. Maybe it's get the 10X book. Maybe it's set a new standard for bedtime routine. You know, you can actually turn off your phone, certain apps at certain times. My whole phone, almost all my phone shuts down at 8 p.m. Doesn't mean I can't get in there, but I have to say, yes, I want in there, right? Because I have a new standard of 8 p.m. I'm done with electronics. And so what is one tiny little action you can take? Put that notebook beside your bed and do the GAIN exercise. Write down 3 ways that you have made progress today, right? So do one small action and that's it. Let the rest kind of resonate with you, and then take another action and another action. And there's my contact information. Like somebody pointed out, I'm super easy to find. If you just Google Sari Kimbell, you will find me. Reinventioncoach.co. I also have a podcast called Reinvent with Sari Kimbell. If you search that, we'll warn you, it's not child appropriate, so don't listen with your kids in the car. It's a little sassy, but that's me. And so I hope you got something out of it. I know a lot of you guys need to hop off or leaving notes in the comments. Really appreciate that. Steph, what do we have time for coaching if somebody wants to volunteer?
I'm fine letting it go. That's amazing information. I know that some people had to get to their next appointment and stuff. So if you have to leave, feel free. But I mean, Sari, if you're okay hanging around,
Yeah,
let's
I'm
see if
okay.
anybody has some Yeah, I'm great with
Be
it.
your
So
tiny
if you do need to
action.
if you do need to jump off, then thanks for coming and all of the newbies. I love seeing new faces. So yeah, does anybody have anything they want to throw out there or share with Sari?
Hi, Sari. I'm Amy.
Hi. Hi, Amy.
Hi. Thank you for your presentation.
My pleasure.
In my work, I work with businesses to do something similar, where they have to come up with goals and then measure their results against them to figure out how they did. And then an important part of the work that I do too is, okay, it's okay if you missed it, right? But you have to know why you missed it. You have to, so with me, it's government grants. So they get a government grant, they tell the government we're going to do something 100 times or get 50% more or something. And then if they don't reach it, instead of feeling like they failed and they're not going to get money the next time, as long as they can reflect on it, to evaluate it and explain it, then it's like they fulfilled their commitment. And then the next time they adjust their goal. Do you have any comments on that kind of thing, on the reflection and readjustment of a goal?
Absolutely. I mean, it's part of the process, right? Like you're gonna, we think like, oh, it's just gonna work perfectly all along the way. And we all know that never works, even though we still keep planning for perfection. So, making a plan, but also knowing that you rip up the plan because it's not gonna go 100% perfect. And where, failure is just learning. If you can put on that coat, that your science jacket, say, where do we learn from this? Where can we get better? And not making goals. I think the problem is we make goals mean something about ourselves or about our company. And we tell a story. And that's why I love 10x goals, or you could call them impossible goals, lowercase impossible, where you kind of go, yeah, no, it is impossible. Like, yeah, calm down, brain. Like, we're probably not going to get there, but it's in the trying of it that you become a better person, that you become a better business, that you grow and you become a better human. So,
and on the opposite of missing goals, on accelerating things that you've done because something, your group, your tribe helped you got to your halfway point faster than you thought. Do you recommend then it's a another multiplier, another 10x, because wow, I was I'm already 7x and I'm on my timeline.
I mean, I would still go for the full goal. And oftentimes, just because we have a desire there is a way to get there. And we don't know, that's why it's like so arbitrary. Like maybe it's a 10-year vision, but once you get going, and maybe because you're using who's and you're accelerating and you're like, dang, I mean, I have a membership for another business of mine, and I have a goal of 2,000 members, but it's like a 3-year goal. Let's still get the 2,000. Let's not change the goal, but maybe the timeline shrinks, and then we just set a new 10x.
Okay.
Something new. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So good. Yeah, my pleasure. Great questions. And Cindy, I saw you raise your hand. All the coaches. Love it.
Yeah, let me lower it. So I'm not sure if this is a question so much as an awareness or a comment, but I think one of the things we have in this group, which is really interesting, is a very wide range of ages here, which to me is wonderful, the intergenerational. And I am in my late 60s and really shifted my life considerably many times. So I love what you're saying here. And I think one of the things that I teach and I work with people in my coaching practice is what I think of as conscious aging, because our culture defines aging at some place. Maybe it's 65, maybe it's 60, maybe it's 70, who knows, that, suddenly that part of your life of being productive is over. And I think it shifts, but a lot of people are off the line now. So if it's maybe, for the recording or whatever it's worth, I think the way that we can stay productive, for me, like one of my 10X goals is to be of service until the day I drop off the earth, right? You know, I've often said I want to be
You're never
doing
gonna accomplish it. So I
doing
love
a
it.
headstand, have an embolism, go boom, and that's it, right? And sorry, sorry for the graphic there, but so I think that for anyone older, like sometimes what can come into your mind is, oh, this doesn't apply to me because I've been there, done that, or I'm too old. The goals may be different.
100%. Yeah.
They may not be around money or
Mhm.
even vacations. They might be of, I want to spend my life being of service to people. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw that
love that.
awareness out there in a way.
Yeah, I appreciate you double clicking on that, because I tried to allude to that, in that like maybe it's just serving. Maybe it's, again, maybe it's not about the money, but it's about the impact, and that we want to create goals that can really resonate with us, and they will change in the different seasons of our life.
That's I agree with that. As you age, you do look at the
Mhm.
priorities certainly resettle in different blocks.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And you know, rightly so.
Sure.
As they should.
But even as we age, hopefully we have some level of wisdom. That's what I hope for myself. I'm not always sure it's there, but I hope for that. And we become, in a way, coaches to our children or our grandchildren. Not that they actually want to listen to us.
Sometimes
Modeling
something leaks in. You just got to
Yeah,
keep pushing it.
it actually
Sometimes-
gets in, right? Yeah. So just it was just a thought I had as I listened to
I
you,
love
because
it.
I think what you're
Thank you.
saying, it was a great presentation. So
Appreciate
yeah.
it. Yeah, it's great.
Indeed.
Great comment.
Okay. Does anybody else have any little thoughts or?
No, I have to jump off, so I'm gonna
Okay.
scoot.
Like, yeah,
Okay.
top of
Always
the
good to see
hour,
you,
so
Cindy.
we'll let
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. Anybody else? Audra, looks like. Okay. All right. Well, Sari, thank you so much. I'm gonna stop the recording.